Hey, good morning, everybody. Hopefully, we're having a wonderful Sunday. And our major winter storm now cranking up over portions of the southern plains, working into the Ohio Valley. And this is just the beginning for many of folks in more ways than one. Just the beginning with this storm and another potential major winter storm knocking on the doorstep really within the next 5 days. So, a lot to discuss in today's video. Now, if you're new to the channel and you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and do so. Like the video and also hit that bell for the latest notifications. That'll make sure you're the first to be updated when I post a video with the latest model guidance and a breakdown of that guidance. Also, go ahead and comment, let me know where you're watching from. Consider sharing with somebody else, and I might have already said this, but like the video as well. That'll help it reach more people. Alrighty, folks, with that said, let's jump right on into things and start talking weather. And starting with satellite loop, you can see what is the beginning of our major winter storm now cranking up that center of low pressure really right over the heart of Oklahoma. And you can see all of this precipitation getting going around our storm system. And we've already seen some snow accumulations in Kansas, Missouri, and like I said, this is just going to really be the start of it, as by the time we get to this afternoon, we could see full-blown blizzard conditions across portions of the Central Plains and a full-blown ice storm beginning into the Ohio Valley. Now, taking a look at radar, you can see this kind of beginning to unfold. Snow in blue, sleet in purple, and freezing rain in pink. Now changing over, it looks like to snow in the Kansas City area, and this is good for Kansas City. I thought that maybe you might hold on to that ice a little bit longer, but that snow line looks to be crashing down, and that could definitely help you out. Definitely let me know also what you're seeing out there, whether it's snow or some sort of ice. That'll help me kind of gauge how well radar is doing with this storm system. But either way, you can see it beginning. Plenty of snow, plenty of ice, and even some rain now beginning to the south, and that could set up the stage for even a severe weather threat this afternoon into Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. So this storm's bringing it all, folks. Really quite the dynamic system out of this one. Now, our watches, warnings, and advisories, yeah, there's plenty of them on the map. We even have those blizzard warnings in and around the Kansas City area in kind of this more orange color from Kansas City back towards Topeka, including Manhattan and Salina, Kansas. Going to get those blizzard conditions this afternoon, and then winter storm warnings in this big stretch from St. Louis through Indianapolis, Cincinnati, Louisville, Southern Ohio, the entire state of West Virginia, and much of the state of Virginia and all of Delaware and Maryland going to see big winter storm impacts out of this system. We also have ice storm warnings here through the southern tier of Missouri, extreme southern Illinois, western Kentucky. That's where we could see more than half an inch of ice accrete, which will bring down power lines, bring down trees, and make travel basically impossible through the remainder of this storm. And even after the storm, folks, that cold Arctic air rushing in behind the system, it's not going to be any picnic by the time we get to tomorrow either, as everything that's frozen will unfortunately still be frozen. But luckily, you should be able to start getting out and start shoveling some of this after the storm pulls away. For many folks, really as early as tomorrow, other folks by Tuesday. All right, so the winter storm index out of this is a map that the folks at the Weather Prediction Center put together, and they are still calling for major to extreme impacts out of the storm. Extreme is as high as it gets in the winter storm realm, folks, and you can see that here right along the Ohio River in southern Indiana, northern Kentucky, for a mix of ice and snow that this storm is going to bring. Major impacts are into Kansas City, and then into northern Kansas and northern Missouri, where those blizzard conditions will be possible this afternoon as the wind picks up and all of that snow and sleet begin to get blown around. That'll make visibility very low for extended periods of time, and that's why they went ahead and pulled the trigger on those blizzard warnings. In fact, these are the first blizzard warnings in some of these areas in nearly half a decade. So, definitely quite the storm, one that'll definitely probably go down in the history books and be remembered for a lot of folks due to the impacts that it is bringing. All right, let's go ahead and break it down for you region by region, starting out here in the Central Plains. This is basically kind of what radar looks like right now. Our high-resolution rapid refresh model doing a terrific job this morning of depicting that heavy band of snow from Kansas City back into Topeka, and then even back into northern Kansas, northern Missouri, and getting towards the St. Louis area. And to the south, you can see that ice beginning where we have those winter storm warnings and even some of those ice storm warnings. And then also to the south, that warm sector that will become unstable this afternoon and potentially produce a couple tornadoes, maybe even a strong tornado or two, not out of the question by the time we get a little bit later on today. All right, we'll move this ahead into time. Here comes the snow, the sleet. It all continues to crank up, and by later this afternoon, we will have to watch that warm nose may try to make a little bit of a reappearance into Kansas City. That could throw some more sleet kind of on top of your snow and crunch it down a little bit. But through extreme northern Missouri, much of the state of Kansas, this is going to be an all-snow event this afternoon. And again, it will begin to blow around through this evening as the wind picks up, and that snow will continue to fall even past sunset. But as we go closer to the midnight hour, you can see on the backside, the snow lightens up a little bit, but many folks that didn't even see the snow in the beginning through central Missouri, southern Missouri, and even parts of extreme southeastern Kansas, they're going to pick up on some smaller snow totals as that back end band moves on through. And then here we go, waking up Monday morning, a beautiful day likely, although very cold, and it's going to be quite shiny outside as the sun hits all of that snow and ice. So definitely going to have those kind of conditions tomorrow. All right, moving into the Ohio Valley, plenty of problems here as well, from snow to ice to, like I said, that severe weather threat. We'll move this ahead. Again, this is basically what we're seeing right now. You can already see that band of wintry precipitation extending outwards towards Louisville, portions of Kentucky, southern Indiana, southern Illinois, into the heart of St. Louis. And again, if you live in here, let me know what's falling from the sky. I'd love those reports. That'll help us kind of gauge how the forecast is going to verify. So always love it when you folks leave those in the comments. Now, by this afternoon, we're going to go from bad to worse. This is right around 1, 2 o'clock. And you can see heavy ice beginning into central Kentucky, into Evansville, extreme southern Illinois, into Farmington, Missouri, and just really much of south central Missouri in general. And to the south of there, mainly rain through Tennessee. Now, I think into the Tri-Cities, back out towards Pikeville, southwestern Virginia, you could start this afternoon with a quick burst of snow and or ice, but that'll change quickly as we get closer to sundown. And this is something I'm concerned about, folks. This isn't even the winter weather. Look down here towards Arkansas, from Little Rock into Memphis, back down towards Shreveport. You see these little individualized supercells. These are going to have the chance to produce multiple tornadoes. I would not be surprised to see a localized tornado outbreak today over portions of Arkansas, Mississippi, and Louisiana. So you got to have a way to get those watches and warnings. Not an all winter storm event, unfortunately. So we're going to see all sorts of impacts out of this one. Now, this is about the time the sun is going down. Ice storm, snowstorm continuing to rage on through Illinois, Indiana, southern Ohio, much of the state of Kentucky, and beginning to get into West Virginia. Overnight tonight, that ice continues to fall. You will notice in Kentucky, our kind of warm front really begins to sneak north, and I think a good southern bit of the state will change over to all rain. But don't get too excited, because you had all of the ice in the beginning that likely froze. It's not going to all completely melt as the temperature warms. And then as the storm is pulling away on the backside, here comes that cold air very quickly going to crash the column, and we're going to get a little bit of back end snow. This is tomorrow morning, and even if you don't see a lot of snow in the back end, whatever fell from the sky is going to refreeze if it did melt, and if it never melted in the first place, then obviously it's going to stay frozen. And Monday afternoon is going to get very cold, very chilly, and that snow is going to work on out of here. Mid-Atlantic, no walk in the park here either. We could see snowfall totals of 0.5 foot to 1 foot in places through Virginia, Maryland, and even into West Virginia and through the Delmarva. So here we go this morning. Pretty calm through Virginia and the Carolinas, but as we get later on today, you can see that burst of snow, this kind of initial little wave of precipitation through the mountains of North Carolina, Southwest Virginia. Could definitely produce some snow or ice. Don't get too excited, though, for a lot of folks, because by the time that moves through, we're going to get a little bit of a dry spell. It's going to clear out a little bit this evening, at least outside of West Virginia, where the storm will really begin and continue onward through Sunday overnight. But here we go. This is right around 11, 10 p.m. tonight. This is when the bulk of the storm moves in. And at this point, our warm air has moved far enough north that will really mainly rain through just about all the Carolinas. A couple slick spots left over in the mountains. As this works on through, you can see a little bit of pink down there on those eastern-facing slopes, especially a little bit lower on the slopes. Not super high up, but kind of middle way up on those eastern-facing slopes. That's where that cold air is going to get trapped and could lead to prolonged freezing rain conditions overnight tonight. But snow, and beautiful snow, beginning to break out here into D.C., Baltimore, really all of the state of Maryland, northern Virginia, much of northern West Virginia. But here comes that dreaded ice and that dreaded warm nose overnight tonight. By the time we're waking up tomorrow morning, still holding on to snow on this model from Philadelphia through southern New Jersey, Delaware, into Washington, D.C., and just a really snowy look from DC all the way up through Philly. And this is where I think we could see totals of 6 to 12 inches right into here, where you're going to get 12 plus hours of moderate snowfall. Yeah, that'll add up pretty quickly. Now, south of there, you can see some of that freezing rain in the northern mountains holding on tomorrow morning. A little kind of freezing rain, sleet, and wintry mix line here into Virginia, and then all snow to the north. As you get up near DC, Baltimore, and the rest of the DMV there. Now, we'll keep on going, and that snow continues tomorrow morning into much of Virginia. Rain to the south of there in Charlotte, Raleigh, Greensboro, snow up into Pennsylvania. We've got snow in Pittsburgh, and then here comes that back end piece of energy, and I think by later tomorrow afternoon, we're going to get a little bit of a lull in D.C. and much of Virginia. Snow could continue into Jersey, Philadelphia, and Delaware, but then that back end piece of energy will work on through, and this could be another band of some moderate snowfall during the evening of Monday and into the overnight, and that once again could accumulate pretty good as the storm pulls away. And then I think by 1, 2 a.m. Tuesday, we'll really be done with all of the impacts, and we can move on to kind of clearing out whatever fell and getting ready for the next potential storm by next weekend. All right, snowfall totals, big time totals here into northern Kansas. We're talking 12 inches to 16 inches in this band north of Kansas City, back down to just north of Topeka. This is where we'll probably get the highest snowfall totals out of this storm system. There's just an immense amount of lift in here due to the shape of this trough, and that is going to lead to big time precipitation totals. Kansas City, probably closer to that 6-inch range. St. Louis, probably closer to that 4 to 6-inch range. Higher ends north of the city, lower end totals south to the city, and then really just a tough forecast everywhere south of there, where it's going to be mostly ice, but you could get a little bit of snow on the front end, which you're probably already seeing now, and some snow on the back end. That could accumulate to 1 to 3 inches in that corridor. Now, moving this into the Ohio Valley, plenty of snow here as well. A little bit less precipitation to work with, but still all snow from Springfield to Indianapolis, back down to Cincinnati. You can see some of these totals running that 8 to 12 inch range, I think, is going to be pretty common into there, including, like I said, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, and even portions of southern Ohio. Once you get south into Kentucky, though, that's where the forecast becomes tricky. From Louisville over to Lexington, it's going to be kind of a mixed bag today. It could start as snow and then go to ice and then into snow. So snowfall totals, I would say right around 2 to 4 inches in both of those cities. Where it's going to really be kind of just a little bit of everything that you have to deal with due to the nature of that warm nose that is going to work on in. Mid-Atlantic, heavy snowfall totals here as well. The National Weather Service going for about 6 to 8 inches through much of the DMV. I think that's a safe bet. Some people, I think, though, could over-exceed that. You could get a little bit more. Philadelphia going for about 4 inches. I think that's a pretty safe bet. Somewhere here, right into this range, I'll kind of circle it from southern New Jersey into Delaware and into the DMV. I think it's going to get right around 10 to 12 inches. A couple people will probably report that number. Higher terrains of northern West Virginia being forecasted for more than a foot, but I think even outside of the mountains, somebody's going to get near that range. So a lot of snow. And then you get further south in there, and same story from back out west, where this kind of icy, wintry mix line is. That's where the forecast gets complicated. Your totals are going to get crunched down pretty significantly, but probably still a good little band in here of 1 to 3 inches of snow / sleet / icy mess by the time all is said and done. And then some back end northwest flow possible into North Carolina out of this storm system. Now, what about ice? That'll be another big time deal. Back here into southern Missouri, this is where the real winners, and or I guess losers in this case, are going to be, where we could see 1/2 inch to 1 inch of ice from Farmington over towards Evansville, Indiana, and then through Carbondale as well. That's where we're going to see the highest ice impacts, and this is also where we had the extreme level on our index earlier for our kind of winter storm impacts. But even some ice possible into Tennessee with a quick round this morning before it changes over to rain. A glaze upwards to 1/10 of an inch. Couple people could exceed that before all is said and done. But major ice storm into the heart of Kentucky and into southern Missouri and everywhere in between, going to see prolonged power outages and travel concerns due to this storm system. Now, here's the other problem with the storm. It's not just the storm, it's what's after the storm. These are temperatures this afternoon, and the winds are going to be whipping out there, by the way. I should add, that's one of the reasons for the blizzard warnings. We also have wind advisories into the Carolinas, and here's why. It's going to be 70 in Jackson, Mississippi this afternoon and 25 in St. Louis. So think about how tight that temperature gradient is. That's creating a very strong pressure gradient. They're kind of interchangeable in meteorology, and that is really going to lead to very strong winds basically everywhere everywhere that this storm is moving through as it's moving through. So go ahead and prepare for that. It's another reason we're going to have those downed trees and power lines. It's the ice and snow on them, plus the wind that's going to hit it after the fact, and then you get tornadoes on top of that down into Arkansas, Mississippi, and Louisiana. That will cause its own power grid concerns as well this afternoon. Now, like I was mentioning, though, the bigger problem, or maybe not the bigger problem, but the problem on top of the problem is this cold air. Watch this ooze south behind the storm, and by the time we get to tomorrow afternoon, we're not getting above freezing for many places into the Ohio Valley, down even into the Tennessee Valley, and then Monday night lows. Check this out. You're waking up Tuesday morning. We're potentially below 0 into St. Louis, the heart of Missouri, into Kentucky. I mean, this is our frigid temperatures, and without power, obviously that's going to become dangerous. And this cold air sticks around through next week, and that sets the stage for what could be another major winter storm. Here's the setup on the GFS model. I think doing a pretty good job of handling it. 3 main pieces of energy. Here's piece 1 is what I'm calling this one. This is going to kind of provide our cold air. Here is piece 2. This is going to provide storm energy, and piece 3 is also going to provide storm energy. So I think one thing that is kind of good for folks who want snow south is the storm that's happening right now. That's going to lay a snowpack right into this area, and this cold piece of energy is going to overrun that, and it's not really going to warm up the air mass much. You're not going to see much air mass modification. Normally during the fall, when you get a big blast of cold air, it kind of warms up pretty quickly as it moves south through Canada and the United States because the ground is warmer, and that's just normal laws of chemistry there. But now it's really cold up here. We've got a good snowpack that is already there for some areas and going to get built on top of from our current storm, and that's going to increase snow chances into the Tennessee Valley and portions potentially even of the Mid-Atlantic and Carolinas and the Deep South, at least maybe northern portions of the Deep South, we'll say. That's going to help you out for your snow potential out of this next storm. Now, here's been the big question all along. How are these two pieces of energy out west going to interact? Are they going to completely phase together and intertangle and create a whole lot of energy that could produce a big storm? Or is only kind of a piece of this southern energy going to get broken off into the northern stream? Well, this is what the latest GFS says. We'll move it ahead, and basically it gets completely scooped up. Our northern piece of energy dives down, picks up our Baja low, and they phase together, and we've got a positively tilted trough over the southern plains by Friday morning. This becomes neutrally tilted by Saturday morning, and then it becomes negatively tilted over the northeast by overnight Saturday into Sunday. So you're probably wondering, well, what the heck does that even mean? Why should I care? That's basically the progression of the strength of a storm system. And this is upper level energy that is going to translate to the surface. So positively tilted, we'll get a storm. Neutrally tilted, that storm starts to ramp up. Negatively tilted, as depicted here, this could produce a full-blown nor'easter into portions of the northeast. And that's what the models latched on to yesterday. They kept it overnight. And let's go and take a look at some of these operational runs, and you can kind of see what I'm talking about. All right, this is the latest GFS straight from this morning. So it's the same map I just showed you, but at the surface. And here you go. You see some snow breaking out over the Red River Valley by Thursday afternoon and evening, getting into Arkansas. A Dallas winter storm. Looks like all rain on this model through Houston, Louisiana, much in Mississippi, but snow breaking out in Memphis, northbound. And here we go. This is Friday afternoon on the latest GFS. We've got winter weather north of Atlanta, Greenville, Spartanburg, the I-85 corridor, seeing some snow. Western North Carolina picking up on snow on this model Friday afternoon, and heavy snow building into Charlotte, much of North Carolina by Friday evening. And again, folks, this is only about 5 days away or so. Big snow into the Ohio Valley, and then that storm system gains its upper level support, and what happens is a lot of that snow changes over to a wintry mix or all rain into the Carolinas as that warm nose works in. We've got snow in the Ohio Valley, and as the storm turns negatively tilted, watch what's going to happen right into here. We're going to get a phasing of energy. See where the low pressure is? Watch for a new one to form off the coast in what is kind of a bit of a classic Miller B setup with kind of what the model is showing. And unfortunately, with a look like this, what starts as snow for much of the Carolinas is likely going to change to a wintry mix. Now, obviously, 5 days away, things are going to change, but the models have been pretty consistent over the past 36 hours or so on this idea. of that wintry mix there. Snow up into the Ohio Valley. Had a comment last night asking about snow in Michigan. Well, here's some snow in Michigan, even outside of lake effect snow by this weekend. Like I said, though, now watch that transfer of energy that's going to happen as that upper level energy turns negatively tilted. Here we go. We go from low pressure here that's about 996 to 993 along the coast, and it cranks up to a 980 millibar low, undergoes bombogenesis, as we say in meteorology, or just rapid strengthening of that center of low pressure, and we get a full-blown nor'easter. You could probably call this a blizzard as well, I would say, over portions of the Northeast, with snow very close to the I-95 corridor. It works up, and by the rest of this weekend, or excuse me, through the rest of this coming weekend, it's just kind of snowmageddon through much of the country, and then that pulls on out of here to start the next week. What about the European model? Are the models agreeing, or are they kind of not in agreement? Well, let's see here. This is the European. What does it show? Same thing. Big storm developing into Texas. Big winter storm that way. Winter storm into Little Rock, Memphis, Nashville. Same exact thing really as the GFS. Starts as snow in North Alabama, North Georgia, even the I-85 corridor of South Carolina. Then changes over to a wintry mix in portions of the Carolinas. Stays a winter storm, all snow in the Ohio Valley. Cranks up the spine of the Appalachia chain, and then undergoes a phasing process here, just like the GFS. That low moves offshore, and it undergoes bombogenesis, bombs out, big deepening of low pressure, and a huge nor'easter slash blizzard slash just pretty crazy winter storm here within the next week. So this is not out in La La Land, folks. This is within a week, and then moves up the coastline and would dump big time snowfall totals through the Northeast. All right, so that's great and that's dandy, and we love operational runs, but the ensembles are really what you should use at this range. So, well, what do they say? Let's start with the European ensembles. They are saying, yeah, they are confident we're going to get winter weather over Texas, including Dallas, and even further south than what the operational runs are showing. This gets well down into central Texas, shows big snow chances in Arkansas, gets it up into Memphis, and I will say automatically, this is a bit further south than what our operational runs have shown. Most of the snow on the operational run of the European is kind of up here, but its ensembles are further south. So that's a good sign for you folks down into northern Mississippi, Alabama, Nashville, Memphis, Little Rock, where it looked like kind of some rain on the storm itself. And even into the I-85 corridor of the Carolinas. Check this out. You're running already about a 60% chance of accumulating snow in Greenville, Spartanburg, Pickens, up into the mountains, Charlotte, the normal I-85 corridor problem north of the city. You're running nearly 60% chance down near Rock Hill. You're about a 30% chance of snow. Highest snowfall chances, though, going to happen here into Tennessee, the mountains of North Carolina, and then as the storm cranks up the coast, this is where the models diverge a little bit in their ensembles, and you'll notice the signal drops off a little bit along the I-95 corridor, but still running a 40% chance of accumulating snow at about a week out. That's not a bad sign at all for you folks up there that want a big snowstorm, and then that likely clears on out of here by about a week or so from now, by next Monday. Not tomorrow, but the Monday after, which would be the 13th. All right, GFS ensembles, same story, big snow potential into Texas. And actually, you know what, we should have the morning ensembles we do. So let's switch it over and give you the latest and greatest data here. All right, so here come those snow chances down into Texas. Not quite as high as the European has, but still noteworthy nonetheless. Gets it up into Arkansas and into Mississippi, northern Alabama. And this is a little bit further south than the overnight run, so trending towards the European. Good news for Greenville, Spartanburg, Charlotte, Asheville. This could be a big snow for the mountains of North Carolina. I like the setup. I could also deal with some ice there. But the state of Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, this has all the makings of a good snowstorm, and then up the I-95 corridor, and then you'll notice snow chances dwindle a little bit, not because necessarily the setup is bad, just because it's a little bit further out, the models are diverging a little bit in what could happen, but you get the point, it looks pretty good for snow. Alrighty, folks, so that's what we're watching. Big storm now, another big storm this coming week. I'll keep you up to date. I'll have another probably evening video out tonight, and I'll probably go live at some point today and give you another update as well. Alrighty, folks, y'all have a great one. Stay safe out there. Stay warm. I'll see you all this evening.